I had a 6 p.m. closing shift at a laser tattoo removal place. My motive was to stack hours for a custody lawyer. My role was the tech who checks consent forms and runs the machine, and my plan was to keep my phone in my locker, finish appointments, then scroll 4chan later to blow off steam like I always did. The clinic was a strip mall box between a nail place and a vape shop. It always smelled like lemon disinfectant fighting a losing war with that faint burnt skin odor the laser leaves behind. I clocked in, shoved my phone in my locker so I wouldn't spiral between clients, and started the routine. Consent form, meds check, goggles, clean, beep, wipe, beep. My boss hovered and pretended it was support, but it was really her way of making sure I never looked like I had a second to breathe. I'd forgotten what I posted years ago, an edgy joke thread, some dumb comment under a nonce cheering cruelty. Nothing I was proud of, nothing I thought survived. Back then, I used anonymous boards like a trash chute. Bad day, bad mood, dump it, log off, feel clean. I never pictured those words getting printed and stacked like evidence, or used in a courtroom where nobody laughs. My last appointment showed up right on time. New client. Hoodie up, hands deep in the pocket. No smile, no small talk, no nervous laugh about bad choices. He walked straight to the desk, gave his name, and looked at me like he was matching a photo. It was quick, but it hit me wrong. I brought him back and ran the intake. He initialed every line fast without reading, like he'd practiced. He rolled his sleeve up and held his forearm out. Small black text, plain. I set the machine, handed him goggles, put mine on, and started. He didn't flinch at the pain. Not once. No hiss, no jerk, nothing. He just breathed slow and kept his head angled toward me behind the dark lenses. Beep, beep, beep. I worked the line, wiped the frosting off, adjusted the spot, kept going. The smell got sharper, and he still didn't react. I've treated guys who act tough and still twitch. This dude sat there like the beat mattered more than the burn. When I finished the pass, I gave him the aftercare sheet and pointed to the don't pick blisters part. He nodded without looking. Then he glanced at my name tag, just long enough to confirm the spelling, and walked out without booking the next session. No thanks. No see you. Just gone. I watched him cross the lobby and disappear through the door, and I told myself I was imagining things that I was just keyed up from court stress. I started resetting the room when my boss snapped my name from the hallway and told me to come to the back office. Her voice had that clipped edge like she'd already decided I was guilty of something. I followed her, and she shut the door hard. There was an email printed out on her desk, printed like it was toxic and she didn't want it living on a screen. She shoved the packet at me and asked me to explain it. It was screenshots. 4chan screenshots. My words in that ugly font. Cropped, highlighted, annotated like a damn documentary. Someone had stitched posts together into a timeline with captions, hates women, admits abuse, predator behavior. They'd chopped the thread context, so clean it read like a confession, like I was talking about real people, like I was bragging about hurting someone. They'd even cleaned up my typos to make it look sharper and more intentional. At the bottom, they had my full name and my court date, like a signature. I asked her who sent it. She wouldn't show me the header. She kept repeating liability and safety, and our clients are mostly women. Like that sentence alone meant she didn't have to treat me like a human being. I told her it was anonymous bullshit from years ago. I told her anyone can fake screenshots. I told her my phone was in a locker all shift and I hadn't been online. She leaned back and said, "So you're admitting you posted hateful things?" And then she said if the clinic got dragged into online drama and review bombing, she'd have to make decisions. That's where I lost my patience. I told her I'd been a bored asshole online years ago. Yeah, but that didn't make me an abuser. I told her she didn't get to torch my custody case over a printout. She told me not to raise my voice in her office. I told her to stop pretending this was about protecting women when it was really about protecting her reviews. She went cold and said she was already getting nervous emails from local moms, and she wasn't going to gamble her business on my past behavior. I asked if a client sent it. She hesitated for half a second, and that was enough. The hoodie guy, he wasn't just a client. He was a messenger. I asked if she checked his intake info, if she called the number, if she did anything besides panic and print. She said she didn't have to play detective. I told her she was already in it, whether she liked it or not, because someone had walked in her business and used her as a courier. She told me to finish my shift and we'll talk tomorrow, which meant get out of my face before you make a scene in the lobby. I walked out shaking and finished closing like a robot because broke people don't get to fall apart on the clock. I wiped counters, logged machine hours, locked cabinets, took out trash. My coworker asked what was wrong, and I said, nothing, because if you say the real thing out loud, it becomes realer. Then I grabbed my phone from a locker and it lit up like a flare. Missed calls, emails, texts. My ex's lawyer had the packet already. Same screenshots, same captions, same timeline. It was in my inbox with a polite subject line, like it was a normal document. They filed it anyway. My lawyer didn't answer. Voicemail. Again, voicemail. I sat in my car in the dark parking lot and stared at the steering wheel until my hands cramped. All I could see was that guy's forearm on the table, the way he didn't flinch, the way he watched me like he was memorizing angles. He didn't come to erase ink. He came to make sure my name landed where it could hurt me. At home, I opened my laptop and started digging because panic makes you do dumb work. I searched phrases I remembered typing. I found archive sites I didn't even know existed. Mirrors of mirrors. Old threads preserved like fossils. There was my comment, my timestamp, my dumb little attempt to be cruel for laughs. Seeing it again made my skin crawl. Not because it existed, but because it sounded like me. I could hear my old voice in it, and it was ugly. I tried to delete accounts I hadn't touched in years. I changed passwords that didn't matter. I even tried to find the original thread and report it like some moderator was going to save me. It was pointless. Whatever this was, it had already moved off the board and into someone's hands, and those hands had my name now. In court, it felt unreal how fast paper becomes truth. My lawyer tried to argue it was anonymous and out of context. He said screenshots can be manipulated. The judge flipped through the pages slow and quiet. He stared at the printouts longer than he stared at me. My ex's lawyer kept using calm words like risk and pattern, while pointing at sentences I barely remembered writing. Every time I tried to explain, it sounded like excuses because from the outside, that's all it is. A man saying he was joking, that he didn't mean it, that it wasn't real life. The judge asked if the posts were mine. If I said no, I was lying. If I said yes, I was confirming their story. I tried to explain it was anonymous bullshit, years old, not confession. Nobody cared. My ex's lawyer slid the packet closer and asked the judge to consider the totality. The judge nodded like the packet had weight, like it was heavy enough to tip my whole life. They asked for temporary adjustments to ensure safety. The judge said, out of an abundance of caution, and signed it. The exchange schedule changed temporarily. That word hit harder than anything else because temporary is how they steal your time without calling it theft. My ex walked out calm, like she'd just been handed a gift. I stood there with my folder of school records and bedtime routine notes, and it all felt stupid, like I brought toys to a gunfight. I got home to an empty kid's room because the exchange schedule changed temporarily. The dinosaur blanket was still folded at the foot of the bed. The night light still glowed. His drawing was still taped to the wall. I stood there with my hands in my pockets and tried to breathe like a normal person, but the room felt like it was judging me. That night, another email came in from a burner address. One line, do not delete, we have more. No signature, no demand, just a hook under my ribs. They weren't done. They wanted me waiting for the next drop, the next batch of proof, real or fake. So I'd keep panicking and making mistakes. I wanted to delete everything, wipe my accounts, smash my phone, but that line made it clear they'd already saved it all. I didn't sleep. I just kept hearing the laser beep like a metronome, counting what I'd lost. I had a morning shift as the front desk lead at a daycare, and I only meant to hold the job until my background check cleared for a better one. I was the person at the glass door who checked IDs, matched faces to the pickup list, and dealt with parents who treated rules like personal attacks. My plan was to stop reading 4chan because it made me mean, but I still peeked at lunch like an addict, phone low, thumbs scrolling while the microwave hummed. I'd tell myself it was just 10 minutes just to see what the freaks were mad about today. Then my break would end, and I'd realize I'd been chewing hate like gum. I'd walk back out to the lobby, and my face would already be set hard, like I was daring some exhausted parent to start something. A thread on /poll started with proof that a local daycare was trafficking. It was trash, cropped photos, red circles, fake confidence. Anons played detective anyway and found our building from a blurry brick pattern in a corner of our playground fence. They posted our address, then told each other to do the right thing and report us to CPS. Not threats, worse, concern. I told myself it would die in a day. I didn't warn anyone at work because I didn't want to admit I was even on that board. Next morning, I did my routine, buzz smile, check ID, initial the sheet. I watched the door like it might bite. We had one of those child-proof magnetic locks that always stuck when humidity hit, and parents would yank on it like a prison door, then glare at me like I'd personally locked them out of their own family. By 8:30, I'd already had to tell a grandma she couldn't pick up because she wasn't on the list, and she called me a little bitch in front of 3 toddlers. At 9:17, the phone lit up with county services. The investigator's voice was calm and sharp at the same time. She asked for our license number, staff roster, visitor policy. She wouldn't say what the report claimed, just child safety concerns. I walked into my director, Marla's office with my notes, and she didn't even look up until I said CPS. Then her face tightened, and she told me to stop being dramatic and get back to the desk. Calls kept coming. Different names, same tone. One caller said, "We've received multiple tips, like quantity equals truth." Another asked if we had any back rooms. By the end of the day, the teachers were whispering, eyes darting at the windows. A new hire cried in the supply closet because she thought she'd be arrested for changing diapers wrong. Then parents started arriving already furious, phones out, filming my face like I was an exhibit. A mom shoved a screenshot at me. Our address circled, our front door tagged like a crime scene, and demanded answers I didn't have. When I tried to explain it was online bullshit, she called me a liar, loud, and her kids started crying because the lobby turned into shouting. Another dad joined in, said he'd heard we were moving kids out the back gate. I told him we don't even have a back gate, just a fire exit with an alarm. He demanded to see it anyway. I said no, because I'm not giving a tour to a guy holding a phone 2 inches from my nose. He kept filming. He kept saying my full name, like he already knew it and wanted everyone else to know he knew. Marla came out and did the customer service thing. Voice syrupy, smile glued on. The second she passed me, she hissed, smile. Like that fixes anything. I told her to stop treating this like Yelp and tell people we were getting targeted. She snapped that I was making it worse. We argued right there, low and mean, and she kept saying professional like it was a spell. I said she was protecting the brand, not the kids. She said parents were clients and we needed to retain trust. I said this wasn't about trust. This was about some internet mob trying to wear our address like a hat. She leaned in close and told me, real quiet, that if I scared parents away, she'd put me on a final warning. I told her I wasn't the one scaring them. I was the one standing in front of the door getting spit on. She told me to stop being hostile. I told her to stop being fake. A week in, CPS showed up in person. 2 of them, badges, clipboards, shoes covers. They walked through classrooms while toddlers stared, confused, clutching toys. They opened cabinets. They asked teachers questions. They took notes like we were guilty by default. They didn't find anything. There was nothing to find. They still wrote. One of them asked why our classroom blinds were half down. I said because kids nap. She wrote that down like napping was suspicious. They asked to see our sign-in sheets, our incident logs, our camera angles. They nodded at everything and gave nothing back. When they left, The teachers didn't relax. They got quieter, like the building itself had been tagged. That night, Marla held a meeting and yelled about narrative. She blamed staff for social posts she approved. She blamed me for handling parents wrong. She told us to stop saying CPS and use state. Instead, like changing the word would change the fact strangers were calling our kids stolen. One teacher asked if Marla could put out a statement. Marla said legal wouldn't allow it. I said legal was hiding behind her desk while we got torn apart at the door. Marla snapped that I needed to remember my place. I snapped back that my place was the only thing between the hallway and the parking lot. I told her trolls don't file official reports. She told me not to feed them. I said they weren't trolls anymore. They were callers with case numbers. She told me if I hated it so much, leave. I told her my background check was coming back, and I just might. On my next lunch break, like the idiot I am, I checked the thread again. It had grown. People posted updates with no sources like they were live reporting a raid. Somebody claimed they'd called the fire marshal. Somebody said they'd contacted media. Somebody dropped a Google Street View grab and wrote, "Look at the side door," as if a daycare having a side door is a confession. Then I saw my face. Someone had pulled it from our staff page, circled it, and posted it with a caption like front desk guy. Then I saw a comment I recognized because I typed it myself in a bored, pissed moment from my phone behind the front desk. I remembered exactly when a parent had filmed me and I'd rage typed while I ate a sad sandwich, trying to get laughs from strangers because it felt better than swallowing it. I wasn't confessing to anything. I was just being a dick for attention. Same phrasing I use in real life. Under it, someone replied with my actual first name. They spelled it right. That night, my personal phone rang from a blocked number. No voice, just a recording of kids laughing layered under typing sounds. Click, click, click under giggles, like someone wanted me to hear what they were doing while they watched me. I hung up. It rang again. Same audio. I didn't answer the third time. I blocked nothing because it was blocked already. I turned my phone off and on like that would shake them. I checked my locks twice. I checked my peephole. I did the dumb thing where you stand by your window and try to see if anybody's parked wrong outside, knowing you look insane. I kept thinking about how easy it is to find someone if you want to. A name on a staff page, a city from a licensing listing, a face from a parent's TikTok, and suddenly you're not an anonymous guy behind a screen anymore. In the morning, 2 cops stood at my apartment door. They said they'd gotten a welfare check request that named me as the suspected abuser. It listed my unit number. It said I had access to minors and concerning online behavior. Anonymous report, but written like a script. I started talking fast, daycare, doxing the thread, the calls, trying to make it make sense. The younger cop pulled out a printed page and read a line out loud. My lunch break comment from 4chan, word for word. I hadn't posted it anywhere else. My mouth went dry. The older cop asked why I was posting about kids at all. I didn't have a clean answer. I had a dirty one, because the board trains you to be ugly for laughs. They asked to look around. I let them because saying no felt like guilt in their eyes. I sat on my couch while they checked my bedroom, my laptop, my closet like they expected a hidden life behind every door. The younger cop asked where I worked again, asked what hours, asked if I lived alone. The older one kept his face neutral, but he kept scanning my walls, my photos, like he was hunting for a crack. They didn't cuff me. They didn't apologize either. They just left me with that polite warning voice. Call us if it escalates. Then they stood in my doorway long enough to make sure I didn't slam it on them, like I was the kind of guy who might. I called Marla after they left and told her cops had just searched my apartment. She snapped that I needed to keep my personal life separate and asked if I told them where I worked. I said yes. She said I was bringing heat to the center. I said the center was already on fire. She told me not to come in if I couldn't be professional. I told her to go fuck herself and hung up. I opened the thread again because I apparently like pain. People were celebrating. We got movement. Keep pressure. They talked about me like I was a skin you can peel off and hang on a wall. I sat there, stomach rolling, and it finally clicked. The thread didn't need proof. It just needed a target that could be moved from screen to street. I had a Tuesday 8 to 4 shift at the city permit counter. My motive was to keep my benefits after 2 write-ups. My role was the clerk who stamps inspections and answers angry calls. And my plan was to eat lunch at my desk and lurk 4chan on my phone without posting, just to numb out. By 8:05, the lobby was already full and the ticket machine was spitting numbers like it hated everyone. A contractor at window 2 kept jabbing his finger at a plat map, like I could redraw the city for him. I told him the setback line on his printout didn't change because he was loud. He called me a useless bitch, then asked for my name so he could report me, like he hadn't been doing that my whole adult life. My supervisor, Ron, did his usual lap behind the counter. He didn't say hi. He dropped a stack of folders on my desk and went, "No mistakes today. You hear me?" Like I've been screwing up on purpose. Those write-ups were petty, but petty is how they get you. One was attitude, because I didn't smile while I got screamed at. The other was productivity, because our system crashed, and somehow that was my fault. So I came and tried to be invisible. Stamp, route, answer, repeat. Don't give Ron a reason to circle me. Around 11, I finally had 30 seconds where nobody was slamming paperwork through the slot. I slid my phone under the counter and opened /B. I never post. I just scroll until my brain goes quiet and the day stops feeling personal. A thread popped up about an operation to clean up a disgusting trap house. Just a blurry porch photo, like somebody snapped it from a car. Anons were acting like they were Batman. They weren't. They were bored. They started guessing streets from porch posts and the angle of the roof. People posted street view grabs and circled windows like they'd cracked a case. At first there was no address, just accusations and that smug "trust me." Then some anon dropped a full address and typed out instructions. File complaints to code enforcement, fire marshal, health department, paperwork raid. No risk. Templates showed up right after. Copy-paste scripts. Concerned neighbor. Smell chemicals. Kids in danger. They use words normal people don't use, like egress and habitability, like they'd found a cheat code for making government show up. It wasn't civic. It was bullying with better grammar. I stared at it longer than I should have. I didn't report it. I told myself it wouldn't touch my desk. Our system filters duplicates, right? Inspectors verify, right? I told myself whatever kept me moving because I still had half a shift and Ron already looked like he wanted blood. By early afternoon, my printer wouldn't shut up. Intake forms, complaint logs, emails that auto-forward into our queue. Same street name, same house number. Again and again from different people, all saying the same things in slightly different words, like they'd been assigned homework. I clicked into one and my stomach dropped. It was the address from the thread. I started flagging duplicates like I was trained. Duplicate / unverified. Routes to review instead of dispatch. I hit it so many times my wrist ached. The pile still grew. The phone started chiming too, complaint calls getting transcribed into the same queue. I could hear people reading off the same stiff lines, pausing in the same places like they were literally following a template. One caller even mispronounced the street name the exact same way the thread did, and that was when it stopped being abstract for me. I wasn't watching a prank anymore. It was sitting on my counter, wearing my agency name. Ron leaned over my shoulder and watched my screen. "Why is the queue not moving?" he snapped. "It's the same address," I said. "Online raid. Duplicates. We should verify." He made this annoyed noise. "We don't slow down complaints. We respond. Process faster." "I am processing," I said. "I'm routing to review because it's spam." He slapped the counter hard enough my stapler jumped. "You want another write-up? Keep playing detective. You route. You don't decide what's real." I felt my face heat up. "You're asking me to rubber stamp harassment." He leaned closer. "I'm asking you to do your job." That's the part that still makes me sick. Because the machine doesn't like judgment. It likes buttons. Ron had supervisor access, and he used it like a club. He reached around me and started overriding my flags. I watched his name pop up in the log. Override, override, override. I grabbed the mouse back, and he shoved my hand away like I was a kid. I said, "Stop. This is going to get someone hurt." He laughed. "Hurt? It's an inspection." "Jesus, you're dramatic." He kept clicking, fast like speed was morality. By 3 o'clock, the inspection packets were printed and routed. Code enforcement, fire marshal, health. A checklist got built out of anonymous comments and copy-paste lies, and then it became official because it had our letterhead on it. Inspectors walked by with clipboards like it was just another stop. One of them, Marta, paused and asked me, "This one real?" And I hesitated for half a second too long. Ron answered from behind me, loud, high priority. "Neighborhood complaints." Marta looked at me like she knew I was swallowing something and then kept walking. 2 days later, I drove past that address on my way home. Traffic shoved me onto side streets, and then I recognized the porch. In daylight, it didn't look like a den of crime. It looked like a tired rental with too many cars out front. There was an eviction notice taped to the door under plastic, and a kid's bike on its side in the mud. One handle sunk like it got dropped, and nobody came back for it. That's what punched me. I saw a couple trash bags stacked by the curb and a plastic tote, cracked open like somebody had dumped a life into it fast. Nobody was outside. No cops. No drama. Just that quiet, ended feeling like the decision already happened and the people were just gone. Because a trap house doesn't have a little bike lying there like a forgotten limb. A crowded rental does. A family does. I called Marta from my car, hands tied on the wheel, and asked what they found. She sounded tired and annoyed, like I was making her reopen a file she wanted to bury. "One real violation," she said. "Blocked egress in the back. Storage stacked. Fire got involved. Once fire signs on, landlord moves fast." I said, "So that's it? Boxes and they're out." She went quiet, then said, "Don't call me about this," and hung up. That night, B posted a photo of the notice with "We did it," like it was a fucking charity drive. People celebrated like they'd saved the world. Somebody wrote, "Paperwork is the best weapon." Somebody else posted a checklist of agencies like it was a speedrun guide. Then the thread turned toward the next hit. Somebody asked how fast the city responded. Another anon posted our department name. Another posted the main line. And then someone posted my office extension. Not the general number. My extension. The one tied to my desk. They wrote, "Call and thank the clerk." My chest tightened so hard I thought I was going to throw up. The next morning, my phone lit up before I even logged in. Unknown numbers. Blocked numbers. People calling, hanging up, calling again. The voicemail filled with smug, "Good job." Messages like I was their employee. Ron walked past, saw the blinking line, and said, "Answer it." "They doxed me," I said. He scoffed. "It's a phone. Pick it up." I snapped back that he forced the overrides. He got close and hissed, "You want to keep your job? Do your job." Then he added, quieter, "You already have 2 write-ups. Don't make me do a 3rd. That was the threat, plain as day. I went to IT on break and asked for a new extension. They said it wasn't simple because of routing and call trees and told me to submit a ticket. I went to HR. They told me to document harassment and use the employee hotline like a form's armor. I went back to my desk and the phone kept lighting up anyway like I was a target pinned to the counter. I answered once because the ringing was drilling into my skull. A guy immediately said, "Thanks for getting rid of those fucking animals." "You don't even know who lived there," I said. "Doesn't matter," he said. "We cleaned it." "There was a kid," I said. "I saw the bike." He laughed and went, "Collateral," like he was proud of knowing the word. I slammed the receiver down so hard it bounced. Ron stormed out and started chewing my ass for unprofessional conduct in front of customers. I told him to fuck off under my breath. He heard it. He went red and said, "Go home if you can't handle the public." So I went home with my badge in my pocket and my stomach in knots, thinking about how easy it is to ruin someone's life without ever touching them. Just clicks, just routing, just paper that turns into a notice on a door. I didn't pick up the phone for a week.